I think we were not coming to Yaoundé for a miracle. We're coming to Yaoundé to continue the discussion on how we can get involved in social media regulation. And it's important to note that we had platform providers here who gave us their own position on the subject. And we also exchanged with a number of countries that are already advanced in terms of social media regulation. And so I think that the take-home message from Yaoundé is that we'll continue the discussions, and we feel that in not a too distant future, we'll be able to come up with a blueprint which will not only guide individual countries, but will cut across a number of African countries. And we intend also to try to see how we can get the African Union and the African Commission be of help to the regulators that we are, because we are grappling with the content and the peculiarities of our continent, which we think that we have to sell. We think that we have to handle with a lot of care. We shouldn't remain as the dumping end of other cultures, but that we have something to offer, and that even when the social media platforms are there, we should also be present on it with our own values and our own culture as well.
It's not easy to manage social media, I mean, the mainstream ones, that one is a little bit okay, but you know that most of them are outside the jurisdiction because they are international platforms, and therefore as an individual country it's difficult for you to attempt to monitor them. Yeah, but a few of the local ones that we register, I mean, those that are registered with us, I mean, they have to follow our guidelines, and basically our guidelines are guidelines developed by the Journalists Association, guidelines developed by owners of private newspapers, guidelines developed by private electronic media. And so we use those guidelines as our benchmark in our assessment of content. So that way, I mean, the local ones we are able to interact with, to organize training programs so that they appreciate the fact that they are dealing with people, and therefore when you are dealing with people, you have to demonstrate responsibility in the way that you go about doing your own things. Yeah, but the international ones, they are difficult to control. We have felt that there was a need for the continental approach, so that we develop a basic guideline that applies across countries in Africa. Because if we take Africa as one unit, then we are able to negotiate better with the international platforms. And more important, one of the fears in Africa is that the question about social media that they are doing is an attempt to tame them, to restrict their freedom. And so when we come out with a common guideline that applies across all the countries on the continent, then no individual country can use that as a way of suppressing free expression. And we think that is a better approach at looking at the issues, because these days of deep fake and disinformation and malinformation, it's not in the interest of anybody to go on that path. And so we are working towards a continental body agreeing on guidelines. That's why we are very supportive of this initiative of a continent-wide guidelines on social media.